What's a good word, peeps? Brandon Baylor checking in here, a fresh hour at HQ, where Thursday night we could probably find out who's the top dog in the NFC. Packers taking their 6-game win streak into the desert against the Cardinals, who's been perfect out the gate here in 2021. Now, despite Green Bay, of course, being shorthanded, you can never count out Aaron Rodgers. And on the flip side, Kyler Murray has been balling, making this game big time on Thursday night.
Week 8 in the NFL starts off with a big one as the first-place Green Bay Packers head to the desert to take on the NFL's only unbeaten team, the Arizona Cardinals. The season couldn't have started out much worse for the Packers, blown out by the Saints in Week 1, but have since won 6 straight and appear to be well-positioned to make another run at the Super Bowl behind their superstar quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
I'm proud of our guys, the way we're playing, getting contributions from a lot of different guys.
Coming into the season, the Arizona Cardinals were picked to finish last in the NFC West. 7 weeks in, they still have a goose egg in the loss column and their quarterback, Kyler Murray, playing at an MVP level.
Hopefully, we understand what the task at hand and we come ready to play on Thursday.
The Cardinals haven't even made it to the playoffs since 2015, but just making it won't satisfy this team. And assuming they get there, they'll likely have to go through a team like the Packers to play at SoFi in February. Will Kyler lead the high-flying Cardinals to a perfect 8-0 record at home, or will Rodgers make it 7 straight for the Packers? The stage is set for a great one as Week 8 is about to kick off.
Should be some smoke in the city. Time to welcome in the super friends from the Pick Six podcast here, Will Brinson and John Breach. And Will, I'll start with you. Cards and pack tonight. Few pieces missing on both sides in this one. Outside of those factors, though, is this a measuring stick if we're looking at the NFC conference?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, it's a little unfair to judge the Packers in particular with, Davante Adams missing and Allen Lazard out as well because of COVID issues. I mean, those are, two of the two top receivers for Aaron Rodgers. But we've seen Aaron Rodgers play really well, in games without Davante Adams, 6-0, and putting up some big stats dating back to 2019. So it's entirely possible that Rodgers comes out and plays well. He's getting Marquez Valdes-Scantling back, we believe. Robert Tonyan is in there, and Aaron Jones plays very well also when Davante Adams is out. And yeah, I mean, you look at these odds, right, at Caesars, and it's pretty clear that the Packers are going to win this division. They look like one of the best teams in the NFC. So it kind of becomes, all right, how do you stack up against the rest of the conference? And Arizona, undefeated, they're trying to keep this roll going. And this could very well have major implications for seeding factors down the line, this game on Thursday night. So yeah, absolutely. It's a measuring stick for the NFC.
Yeah, and I agree with Brinson when he says that. You look at the NFC standings right there. If the Cardinals win this game, they're 8-0, and they have a 2-game lead on the Packers for that number 1 overall seed. And that's the only seed that matters in either conference because that's the only one that gives you a bye. I mean, it doesn't eliminate Green Bay from winning the top seed, but it really puts them in a hole because you don't want to be effectively 3 games back because the Cardinals now have the tiebreaker over you. So this is a huge game, and I don't think that it loses any of its luster, despite the fact that we're not going to have Davante Adams or J.J. Watt out there. If this was just Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray throwing footballs into a trash can, I would watch that for 3 hours. That is how good both of these quarterbacks are. I think this is going to be an exciting game. As Brinson noted, the Packers are 6-0 without Davante Adams since Matt LaFleur has been the coach. And I think a part of that is because their offense becomes more unpredictable. You don't know where Rodgers is going to put the ball. And so part of that is why it's going to be a fun game to watch tonight. The Packers offense, there's going to be a unpredictability to it. So I am super excited. This might be the best Thursday night game ever.
John, you mentioned there J.J. Watt, of course, in store for possibly season-ending shoulder surgery, the former defensive player of the year. He hasn't had a huge impact on this defense, but, of course, no longer set to play in this one. How much of a blow is it for that unit?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurts because, look, J.J. Watt definitely, he wasn't lighting up the stat sheet. You're not looking at a guy who had 10 sacks this year. I think he had 1 sack, 5 tackles for a loss. But he was a big part of that Cardinals pass rush. Just putting pressure on the quarterback helps your defense play better. The quarterback has to throw it faster. The secondary doesn't have to cover as long. And so losing him is going to hurt, especially when you're playing a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, because now your defense kind of has to fill its hole and figure out how to stop one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and you only have 3 days to figure it out because you're playing on a Thursday night. So this absolutely hurts. But this also is bad for J.J. Watt. I mean, this is the 4th time in 6 years that he's had to deal with a season-ending injury, or that he's missed a lot of games. And it's a season where he's playing for a really, really good Cardinals team. That's something that you haven't been able to say about him, because he played his entire career in Houston. Most of those teams weren't great. He's never made it past the divisional round of the playoffs, and this felt like the one year where that might change. So this is bad for the Cardinals, bad for J.J. Watt, and it's just ugly to see him suffer another injury.
Yeah, I mean, we might even be underselling J.J. Watt's impact a little bit. I mean, he hasn't been like peak level, defensive player of the year, world destroyer, Andy Dalton interceptor J.J. Watt this season, but he's been playing well, and particularly, good against a run. Arizona's, ability to withstand the loss of Chandler Jones for a couple games, and to pile. I mean, look at these numbers. I mean, they're the first in points per game allowed, 4th in yards per game, first and third down percentage, and second in terms of 3-and-out percentage. This is a really, really good defense. This crew took a leap this season that I don't think we necessarily expected, and for as much as maybe J.J. Watt was not the best player on the defense or whatever, he's helping them. This is a really smart veteran player who gets these guys into position, who helps shore them up against a run. And I'm curious to see how Arizona holds up tonight against A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. If they get gashed in the run, it's certainly going to raise some questions about how much this Watt injury might impact him down the road this season.
Interesting to see how that pays out there. John, Aaron Rodgers, look, we know when he hasn't had Adam in the lineup, he's 6-0, but now you add Lazard, both, of course, out for this one, on the COVID list. It's a big deal or no deal for Rodgers. I mean, it is AR-12 we're talking about here.
I mean, it's definitely a big deal. I know we pointed out the fact that since Matt LaFleur was hired as coach, that the Packers are 6-0 without Davante Adams. But look, he is their best offensive player, not named Aaron Rodgers. And if you don't have him out there, that hurts you. Without Adams out in the field, they don't have a single receiver playing tonight who has more than 200 yards receiving on the season. So I won't be surprised if we see Rodgers dump the ball off to Aaron Jones, to A.J. Dillon. I think their tight ends will probably get quite a few receptions. And you look at their receivers who are probably going to be in. We're talking about Randall Cobb. It's a good thing the Packers listened to Aaron Rodgers and traded for him, because he might get 15 targets in this game. Amari Rodgers is going to be out there. So you're just talking about somebody big is going to have to step up. But one reason they have been able to win without Davante Adams is because Aaron Rodgers will throw it to anyone. He's not going to just lock in and give someone 15 targets like he does with Davante Adams. So I think Rodgers is going to have a big game, and the Cardinals defense is going to have to stay on their toes because they have no idea where Rodgers is going to put the ball. I think that despite the loss of Davante Adams, the Packers offense is still going to put up a lot of points tonight.
Yeah, I mean, missing Davante Adams is a huge deal. I mean, he had a 33% target share in the Packers offense, and that's even when you sort of don't factor in week one they lose to the Saints and they pull them fairly early in the second half, and they're not throwing it a ton. You have a couple several blowout wins over the last few weeks, and so Adams is the central focus of this offense from a passing perspective. He's really a true alpha receiver who can run every route. He can get open. He can beat man. He can beat zone. He can beat you deep. He can work underneath. He's a tremendous receiver, great after the catch, everything, right? But I do agree that, because Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback that he is, and because he does have enough weapons, like, Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, there are guys there who can make this work against Arizona's defense, but it is definitely a big deal that Davante Adams is not out there.
Yeah, definitely options on the table, as you mentioned here, for the Packers. All right, let's make dollars make sense here a little bit, Will. Give me your top prop in tonight's game.
Well, I mentioned Aaron Jones as my several times in that he's my top prop, even though if you'd watched HQ on Wednesday evening, you could have bet on this over Aaron Jones receiving yards at 35.5. And now this thing has gone up to 44.5, and it's still juiced to the over. It's because when Davante Adams is out, Aaron Jones sees this receiving rate just go through the roof. He has averaged 6 targets and 4.8 receptions per game. Look at that handy graphic we got going there. This is elite receiving numbers. Look at that 2019 number. Cowboys 75 yards on 7 catches, 159 yards on 7 catches. I really think with as good as Arizona's been against the run, we're going to see Aaron Jones involved heavily in the receiving game. And I think a lot of it, you could get this prop in one shot, a wheel route up the sideline, and we're cashing 44.5 easy. Obviously, a 10-yard bump up in terms of the prop is not ideal, but I still like it at 44.5.
Brinson, I also like your prop, but I like my prop even more, and that is Mason Crosby over 2.5 extra points. Look, this one's juiced to the plus side. You are getting plus money on a Packers kicker to hit. If he hits 3 extra points, you win this bet. And the reason that's a little crazy to me is because Mason Crosby has made 3 or more extra points in 5 of Green Bay's past 6 games. And so the only reason you are getting plus money here is because I think the odds makers are a little worried about whether the Packers will be able to move the ball and score touchdowns without Davante Adams on the field. I mean, we've seen the numbers. They're 6-0 without him. They've been scoring points all season, and all you need here is 3 touchdowns to get your 3 extra points. And like I said, he's done it in 5 of the past 6 games, and I think he will do it again tonight in Arizona.
Yeah, Crosby, of course, he's been perfect. He's one of the money that you mentioned there, 6 for 6 since that little snafu there against Cincinnati. We're going to forget about that one. Will, the over-under, of course, set at 50.5. Play on the total. We mentioned a lot of points. Chances goes over, under. What's your play in this one?
I like the under here. I think 50.5 is look, between Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers, we could see plenty of points scored. That wouldn't be surprising at all. These guys can both light up the scoreboard. Elite quarterbacks, especially with Kyler's hadn't run a whole lot, but he does have rushing ability there. And maybe this is the game where it turns into a shootout and he's forced to do it, and that could raise the levels. But I just think you're going to see Green Bay's one of the slowest teams in terms of pace in the NFL. They don't run a ton of plays, and they're going to want to run the ball, take the air out of the ball, really reduce the number of possessions for Kyler because they don't have Davante Adams. And I think you see them try and shorten the game. I like the under in this spot.
Brinson, I don't know if we're doing this on purpose, but I think we go opposite answers here every single week. And you know what? You made a bunch of good points for the under. I'll make another one. The Cardinals are giving up the fewest points per game in the NFL this year. Packers giving up the 7th fewest points per game in the NFL this year. But I am throwing those numbers out the window. I don't care about those. This is Aaron Rodgers. This is Kyler Murray. This is going to be a shootout tonight. I think the final score is going to be something in the range of 34-27. And I think the over is going to comfortably hit.
All right, John, right back at you here. Cardinals here, 6.5. Are you riding with the Birds or Aaron Rodgers in the pack tonight?
Man, if this game were on a Sunday and the Packers had a few more days to kind of figure out an offensive game plan and what they can do without Davante Adams, I would feel really comfortable taking Green Bay, but it's on such short notice. They're not going to have their defensive coordinator. They're not going to have their offense is going to struggle. I can't see them keeping up with the Cardinals offense. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think Green Bay is going to run out of ammo sometime in the 4th quarter. So I am going to take the Cardinals to cover the 6.5.
I will take the Packers here. It's a pretty simple calculation for me. We have Aaron Rodgers getting 6.5 points in a primetime game. I mean, I understand Adams is gone, but again, he's 6-0 without Davante Adams. 310 passing yards per game and 70% completions in those games. Aaron Rodgers is not going to show up to the desert and fall short of competing with the Cardinals. Maybe the Cardinals cover the 3 or 3.5, not 6.5. Give me Rodgers here.
All right, Will, going with the part owner of the Chicago Bears and Aaron Rodgers. You can't go wrong with that, so of course, why not? Will Brinson and John Breach breaking down. As always, getting us ready for Thursday night. Appreciate your time, fellas. Don't forget, you can catch them on the Pick 6 podcast, always breaking it down. Of course, Week 8 is upon us later tonight. Guys kind of splitting hairs there when it comes to Packers and Cardinals. They always give you that gambling perspective. Might want to check it out before kickoff tonight. Download and give them a follow. And don't forget at 6 p.m. Eastern, Sportsline show with the fellas per usual on a nightly basis, giving you the goods when it comes to the best bets, props, DFS advice, and futures. Don't want to miss it. You can even catch you on the go. All you need is your telephone, and we all got one. Check them out.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.